Here we go. Welcome back to the Real Estate Locker Room Show, folks. I'm your host, John Carney, and I'm truly grateful for you taking some of your time out of the day to tune in and listen to the podcast. If this is your first time listening to the show, welcome. This is the show that likes to believe real estate is a team sport, and we call it the Real Estate Locker Room Show because we're going to explore that intersection between competitive real estate and competitive sports. So welcome to the show. Today we're going to jump into infill development down in Charlotte, North Carolina with Jason Javer. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy day to share a little bit about your success story. You're episode 103, which is pretty cool. I never in a million years imagined that I'd be doing this for this long, but it's awesome to grow the network and grow the tribe and talk to like-minded people. So if you don't mind, I like to just stretch a little bit, get the conversation going. And, and I always ask our guests, if you played sports growing up, whether it was an individual sport or a team sport, doesn't matter. They're both competitive. And if you have an athlete that inspired you, and if you translate any of that to your professional career in real estate.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, growing up, I'd say basketball is probably my favorite sport to play. And I think, you guys kind of touch on it a little bit, just sports and the intersection to business and how much sports can teach you. And I think basketball taught me about hard work and about failures and limitations and those kind of, items that could, you could learn from basketball and from being in a team sport and working with others. And along those lines, unfortunately, I grew up in New York and don't have a lot of great sports teams that I followed throughout the years. But I would say, as a cliche answer, I mean, someone that I looked up to growing up was Michael Jordan. And I think that, his ability to, always trying to win and to be the best and to try to, always succeed, I think is something that resonates with me in business in terms of kind of going out there and trying to be the best that I can be and trying to, at the end of the day, beat the competition in some way as well.
And Michael Jordan, I grew up in that era, unfortunately, as a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, because during the Jordan era, we got close, but we never got to the championship. And, the thing about Michael Jordan is he talks about, you see the quotes, it's all these shots, all the practice. I've failed this many times.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest admiration was when he decided to have a go at baseball and how hard he worked, and that wasn't in front of the cameras either, batting practice and ground balls and all that other thing. So he's a true sports hero and a remarkable leader and athlete and business person. So,
and you touched on a great piece of that is the line about failure that he talks about, because that's a huge piece of business that I don't think when I got started, I was really prepared for how much failure you were going to face and that you're just going to get knocked down so many times, but it's just about getting back up and keep going and keep refining and keep improving. And I think that's a huge takeaway.
Same thing with me though. And on the failure side, and it wasn't until I decided that I really needed help with one of my first businesses, the one that sort of took off, that I had to get the phone to ring. What do I need? And I got surrounded by entrepreneurs, and the failure came out, and that wasn't discussed in school. I didn't learn about that in any of my business classes. Didn't learn about that through anybody, but I mean, it is a big part of the equation, but I suppose having a good attitude about it is what are some of the lessons that we've learned on this show. So, sure. Thanks for sharing that. I believe that it's important, and there are more people talking about falling down and getting back up, I think, today with all the technology and all the access to information that wasn't around 15 years ago when I kind of went out on my own. But anyways, you're in infill development. Can you talk a little bit about your journey and your success story in real estate and some of the obstacles you overcame to kind of fall into this line of work? Because, it's challenging all around.
Yeah, definitely. We did kind of stumble into it a little bit. I mean, we started out in around 2012, and we were buying kind of small properties and renovating them and either renting them out or flipping them. And kind of over time, we kind of found our niche, like you talked about, of infill development. So really, what we do is we look to try to find pieces of land within Charlotte. Pretty much all of our projects are within a few miles of Center City, Charlotte, which they call Uptown here. And what we look to do is find land, and we'll probably take a piece of land and do anywhere from 2 single-family homes or a duplex all the way up to 15-unit projects. And currently, we have around 100 units in production. So really, what that takes is the ability to identify opportunities and the ability to understand zoning. And then we've also brought the construction team in-house as well. So we've hired a lot of people with a ton of construction experience, and really everything that we're doing is new construction, and kind of falls within the trend that we've kind of seen over the last decade of urbanization, people wanting to be close to town, close to some of the transportation modes to get into working uptown, or that kind of live work play city that Charlotte is, the 18-hour cities that are becoming very popular. So our business model tries to take advantage of those opportunities.
So define, if you were renovating homes and either holding them or selling them, to end users, that was that the stepping stone? It seems to be a common stepping stone, but at what point did you decide here's something that we're either going to, where you had to get in front of a city council and submit forms? That's kind of
Yeah.
probably the daunting task for many people.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of what we do is by right development. So what we're able to do is understand the zoning, and we don't have to go through the rezoning process that involves the council and the city. We've only had to do that a couple of times. So for us, it's actually just understanding, hey, this area is zoned for multifamily, but there's currently an opportunity to add units because maybe there's an existing rundown single family home here. So we try to stay away as much as possible from the city council because it is such a long process, and it's very expensive. So I think for smaller projects, it becomes daunting to kind of go through all that time and money for only 4 units, for example. So a lot of what we do is actually by right. So understanding, local zoning and understanding what's possible.
So you've got a formula where you're either looking at, do you tear down houses?
Yeah, primarily.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you tear down houses. I mean, we're up in Cleveland where they're giving you houses, to
Yeah, it's
fix up.
crazy.
In certain areas of the city, there's a land bank here that will give the right developer, right? Like yourself, I put you in
Hmm.
that class where you can either fix something up, or you can build on the lot. And they've really done a good job of trying to make sure it's not just anyone shows up and says I want to do this. They've got their list of accredited people, I suppose. So
Yeah.
you've got an architect on your team, I have to imagine, in
We
house,
we hire all third party architects. Yeah.
and are they sort of the driving force behind what's possible here, and what we can do within the zoning guidelines and all the I'm not going to
It's
call them parameters, restrictions.
yeah. It's a little bit of a combination. I'd say it's, there are kind of civil engineers, surveyors, and architects. They all kind of have a general understanding, but it's also something that I've really focused on over the years of understanding. So I spent a lot of time like understanding what's possible in different areas, and understanding how to kind of locate those opportunities. So I think that's kind of something that separates us from our competition, is the ability to find opportunities in this market right now.
And it sounds like they're prevalent. It's been a long time since I've been to Charlotte, but what was your distance to Uptown again?
Within 3 miles. Yeah, it's competitive, but there's opportunities out there for sure.
So that is, but that isn't that the real estate game anywhere in any class. It's competitive, but there's an opportunity literally around every corner, I suppose,
Yeah.
if you're looking for it, right?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest piece of advice that I give people is that, there's so many different ways you can make money in real estate or have success in real estate, but it's really important that you kind of find something that you can specialize in, figure out how you're going to add value. I think that was like one of the first things that I learned kind of, yeah, as I got started was, I thought I could just, go on the MLS, which is like the local listing service where you see the houses and just kind of buy houses and go from there. And I quickly realized that in order to have success, I had to bring something to the table. I had to add some kind of value. Because at the end of the day, real estate is a very like fragmented industry that a lot of people understand. I mean, nearly 50% of the country is homeowners. So I'm competing with 50% of the country when I'm looking for a house in a lot of ways, So you got to try to find an edge and figure out how you're going to be successful. But I do think, to your point, like whether it's office or commercial or construction or renovations, you can find your niche and be successful.
I mean, it just like in any market. I mean, there's a handful of standout infill developers, here locally. I've worked with a few of them, and know, I don't know all of them, but I know a handful. I mean, I mean, you're almost like if you kind of got a zone, you're going in like a true entrepreneur and planting a flag and putting, sounding cheesy here, but you're kind of taking a stake to this area. And you've just said it twice, within 3 miles of we'll call Uptown or the city center CBD for the international guests.
Yeah.
And you're saying like, this is the zone in which this is my playing field. And, have you found, how many years have you been solely focused on infill development?
I'd say solely infill development probably for the last 5 years. And we kind of stumbled upon the opportunity. We found a piece of property. We were going to renovate it. And we had a colleague say, hey, why don't you look to knock that house down and build 2 houses? And we were like shocked. We never thought about that. And then that kind of like got our gears turning and the wheels turning to take those next steps. So it's been about, 5-year journey of kind of learning and understanding and refining what we're doing.
So I imagine you recall pretty well your first, so you knocked the house down to build 2. I mean, so what was that like when that was over, sold and on to the next thing? Did you find the whole process? I mean, when you're a student of the game, I suppose doing something new, it's a little bit different. But when you take a look back and here you are, you've continued that process for 5 more years. Where do you think the barrier to entry for more people wanting to do that is?
So I think it's going to be about kind of finding where you're going to add value in the process, right? So if you have a construction background and you want to, be in construction, that could be where you add value. If you want to be, someone that locates opportunities, then I think you need to really understand your local zoning and understand if it's kind of where it's going on, maybe in your market, and also kind of what those guidelines look like. So, I could rattle off to you that, hey, and, the R5 zoning district, which is 5 units per acre, if there's a lot that's, at least 0.4 acres and 100 feet wide, I can subdivide that into 2 homes. And obviously that was like a quick explanation, but I think that that's in a lot of markets. So it's really about kind of understanding what you're looking for, and then going out and there's a ton of strategies out there to try to find properties off market, which is a lot of what we do. So, we'll reach out and, get in touch with owners directly and purchase property at that point.
Pretty cool. Like what's one of your favorite things every day about getting out there and coming to work?
I like so for the acquisition side, I like the analytical piece of like what I explained. I think in my next life, I would be like a civil engineer kind of thing. I enjoy kind of looking at a site and understanding how to cut it up and what it's going to look like. But then from like a, team building side, I really enjoy kind of, leading a team. I have a business partner as well, but, seeing the growth of the team and growth of the individuals and that kind of team aspect is something I really enjoy. I think, growing up, what I really would, wanted to do, I think was like be a teacher or a coach. So it's like, you kind of get a little bit of the best of both worlds, I think, with, having your own business and also, having the opportunity to be on a podcast like this as well.
Pretty cool. Like, can you think of some of the bigger, well, what's one big challenge that you've had to overcome and how did you get through that?
Yeah, we have so many challenges. It's hard to pick one, but I think the biggest challenge for me is because I probably deal and get like over anxious on things. So I think it's as being a leader, you're not only kind of managing the business, but you're managing the people around you, and the people around you are going to look up to how you're acting. So for me, I learned really quickly that like even if I'm feeling stress on something in the business, like I can't let that show off to the rest of my team. Like I have to be a leader in that sense. I can't let like the emotions of something that I'm going through kind of get the best of me. So for me, that's like something that has been really challenging and something that I try to focus on. And really, it just doesn't get better overnight. It's something that you have to kind of focus on day in and day out.
I think that's sound advice, right? I mean, how many people work for you right now?
We have 8 people that work for us right now.
And then so is that sort of that's like a team of like that's a team of people that are employed. Then if you were to expand that to like subcontractors, like for example the architect, right?
Yeah, there's tons. Yeah. So we're right now, we have around 100 units in some part of production. And we're going to, complete on average, 35 units a year and do roughly a little under 20 million a year. So that's like our goal right now, is to be as profitable and as great a team as possible and hit that kind of sales revenue is kind of what we're kind of gearing up for and aiming toward. And I think it's going to be sustainable for us at this point.
So it sounds like you have two outlets for creativity, right? You've got design or adding value to something old, building something new, and then the leadership component. Do you ever look at those two, like how they play off each other, or do is that?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because I think what we've learned is that the more narrow and deep we can go, the better. So the more, that we can repeat plans that we've done before that work really well, and the better projects that I can give my team and put them in a better position to succeed, the better they're going to do. So I kind of have a feeling right now, and we've learned over the years of what projects our team is going to excel in and which ones are going to be challenging. So for me, it's about how do I continue to give my team the best projects possible. So that's kind of like, my behind the scenes, the acquisition, what you're talking about from a design perspective. And then how do I kind of bring that to the team so that I can, put them in the right position to succeed and be a good, and then at the end of the day, that's going to help me be a good leader to them. So I think that at the end of the day, like the negatives, they fall on, mine and my business partner's shoulders a lot of times. Like there's always stuff that we could have done better to put them in a better position to succeed. Because I think we have, great people that work with us that put it in the right position will do really well.
Yep, that's super important. So one thing we did not do on this show is define. Do you mind just like hitting the pause button and defining what infill development is, just in case we have listeners that are tuning in for the first time and aren't familiar with the terminology?
Yeah. I think of infill development as essentially just development near like an urban core. So what we're looking to do is kind of look for properties that are close to town and then add density. So it could be, taking a rundown home and building a few houses on that piece of property, or maybe it's building a couple of duplexes. So I consider infill development of, kind of pertaining to like what we see a lot is the millennials that want to live close to work and close to the bars and restaurants within walking distance. So it's kind of like close to urban core, but it's not going to be your standard, like go build a cul-de-sac development. That's not what we do.
Right, which I kind of throw into the land development category.
Yeah, so it's a little different. It's kind of like a little hybrid, so to speak.
So, I mean, you guys have got, for a team of 8 people, you're talking about a good volume of product being pumped out, and then large, and $20 million is a large number to hit. So, have you been affected by the COVID-19 internally, or have you seen anything in the market that's giving you concerns right now?
The first 30 to 45 days, kind of in that middle of March period, were pretty rough. We didn't see any sales. There was a lot of uncertainty, everyone kind of working remotely. And then, kind of coming out of it was probably the strongest sales we had ever seen in the history of our business. So we were really fortunate to, with interest rates being low, we were just, one of the businesses that kind of has done well through COVID, but we're definitely now seeing, increases in lumber prices, material shortages, and it'll be interesting to see how that kind of, moves into, the fall and the winter, and how the virus, what levels, I guess, we kind of see infection throughout the country, and if we continue to see prices increasing. I mean, we're still in a market that has really high demand and very low supply. So it's just going to be interesting to see how all those factors kind of play together.
Like, what is the I'm just curiosity, like we're
Yeah.
up in Cleveland, right? And so we're going into fall, the weather's changing a little bit, but our children went back to school, and the I'm in a multifamily development, and then we have multifamily management. So I've been out and about pretty much through the whole pandemic, and we were fortunate enough to not have anyone on our team or in any of our communities that we know of, become sick and then spread it, right? So fortunate, and
Yeah.
the March and April were just constant calls and procedures and all these inundation of PDFs from what are the biggest companies doing and what are the doctors saying. Was that an experience you had? PPE. I mean, it was.
Yeah. Yeah. What we talked about a lot, me and my business partner, was, and obviously there's a lot of different, theories, so to speak. And it's like, I've gotten now from a business owner to someone that has to give medical advice, and to have to say like, hey, do this, be safe, wear masks. So it's like nothing. I never thought I'd have to kind of make sure that I was a leader of that message. So I think that was challenging and different for us.
Yep. And yeah, it was like that. And then, we're in Ohio and it's a manufacturing city. And exactly what you're talking about is throughout the United States. Price of lumber is up. Stainless steel appliances are in short supply.
Hmm.
Some manufacturers sounds like from big distributors are like dogs chasing their tail, and some other big well-known brands are able to keep their production lines going, but at a reduced capacity. So I mean, do you see more of these products that we used to rely on from other countries that had to travel on a boat or a plane or a railroad, across borders? Do you see a refocus on the U.S. regionally becoming stronger?
Yeah, I'm not sure. That might be a little bit above my pay grade to kind of think like that about the materials and the manufacturing, but I just think it's going to be really interesting just to see like how production comes back. And is this a short-term blip? Like, will we kind of see lumber prices? I know they've started to go down a little bit. So are we going to start to see production ramp up? Or to your point, is it more of a systemic issue overseas and things kind of coming back to the US? And I'm just not I don't follow it enough to really kind of have a true sense on that.
Yeah, it was just we're in different parts of the country, essentially, and where projects we have in the pipeline rely on the
Yeah.
price of lumber. In here in our region, a lot of the big builders who we work with on commercial property, they buy their lumber in bulk way in advance, and it comes out of Canada. And
Right.
so what I've been told, whether this is true or not, is that your box stores are eating the cost of the price increase to allow for consumers to come in and buy timber. But you know we'll all see soon enough, won't we? or
Yeah, for
or
sure.
slowly enough.
It's certainly a risk, though. You're right, and it's the products that are back ordered, and then in our line of business, we still need to try to get homeowners moved in on time and happy, and so it's there's a lot of factors at play that make it a challenging market as well.
Awesome. What is like one pro tip that you have for people that are in the real estate business, and to kind of what keeps you going every day?
Yeah, well, I think a pro tip if you're looking to get started would be, like you talked about a little bit, like consume a bunch of information. The information's out there. There's blogs, there's podcasts, there's ways to learn. And then I think what I would recommend to someone is, find your niche, find something that you enjoy, find something where you can add value, and then just make sure you take action. And you need to put yourself out there. You need to understand, what are all the steps that people are doing to be successful in that niche. And then just go out there and take action. You're going to be uncomfortable at times, but if you want to be kind of an entrepreneur and you want to have success in real estate, you kind of have to, lean on your strengths, but then also attack your weaknesses at the same time.
I like that. That's great. Lean on your strengths, attack your weaknesses. Is that
Appreciate
a
it.
daily thing?
That one just popped into my head. I don't know. It was like a out of body experience.
Well, is there most entrepreneurs that I speak with, whether you're in real estate or in manufacturing, you name it, that mindset generally carries with it a curiosity. Are you a reader? Is there a book that you've read recently that you think is great and you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, like I said, I consume a lot of information, podcasts, audiobooks, but I'd say when I got started, the one book that I really enjoyed was The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Pappson. And that kind of goes back to what I've been harping on a little bit is like find that one thing that you can do every day where if you're able to do that thing successfully, it's really going to take care of a lot of your other issues. And I think that's true in real estate a lot. If you could find your niche and be successful at it, whether let's say you want to be someone that specializes in office property. If you're able to go find the best office property out there, then I think that your ability to, maybe secure financing or bring in investors or do those other things will get taken care of by the fact that you're finding the best deals possible. So I think that it's just about kind of find your niche, find that one thing that, if you can excel at it, it's going to kind of separate you from the pack.
Yeah, I like it. That's sound advice. When I'm getting stressed out because I put too much on my plate and I feel that stress and then I look at what I'm doing, I kind of say to myself, like, do I like what I'm doing right now this minute? And if
Yeah.
the answer is yes, it's like push through, right? I just overscheduled myself. It's like some days it's a problem and most days it's not. And then if I find myself in a task that's stressing me out and I absolutely don't want to ever be doing it again, I look
Yeah.
for ways to not do that again, responsibly. And
Yeah, I
there's
think that
some,
was one thing, like having a business partner that helped was, I think we were always looking to build processes and systems and kind of work on the business and not kind of have to repeat some of the mundane tasks or different things like that. So we could be like as effective as possible.
some capacities though, I feel that you've got to, as a business owner or a leader in a business, if you're going to bring something new to the table, figure out how to do it so that you can
Yeah,
show somebody how to do it. And
definitely.
then that task comes off your plate, because if you overwhelm good people who are working hard with more tasks, I find that that's never really a good recipe. But it's interesting how
Yeah,
if you
I
look
agree with you.
how I've just learned to eliminate things that they just go away when that stress level is, why am I doing this? So I don't know. I was just curious if you experienced the same type of.
Yeah, for sure. I really try to focus a lot, on what's stressing me out and then try to really understand it and attack it and over time try to eliminate it. So I think to your point, like I try not to get too overwhelmed and understand like what's important and and like you said, do something once and then build processes and systems around it so that, for me, what I try to do is have a lot of like the daily tasks done pretty early in the day so that the rest of the day I can be a little bit more of like an entrepreneur, business owner, and kind of feel like a little bit more freed from like send this email, send that, do this task, do that task. So I try to set my days up as much as possible in that way.
Awesome. That's great. And good advice for all the entrepreneurs out there, whatever stage you are in your real estate business or getting into it, improving it or thinking about it, the way you organize your day is going to, speak about what you get done in that day. Awesome.
For
Well,
sure.
Jason, thanks for joining me today in the locker room. I know your time is valuable. You're doing awesome things down in Charlotte. Where can people in the audience reach you if they're interested in learning more about what you do?
Yeah, you can find Vista Homes on Instagram and at our website, vistahomesclt.com. And we're also on Facebook as well. And then I'm in the process of starting a podcast of my own called the Charlotte Entrepreneur Podcast. And you can find a little bit more about that on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter as well. And we're just hoping to connect with other business owners and kind of highlight some of the small businesses in Charlotte and hopefully provide some advice on getting started in business, growing a business, and everything that comes along with it.
Yes, a support network for the entrepreneurs. I love it and wish you nothing but success in making those great connections. I think people will enjoy meeting you, and before you know it, you're going to have 100 episodes too.
We'll see. We hope so.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. I truly hope that you picked up some actionable advice today with my conversation with Jason Javier. Make sure to check out the Real Estate Locker Room Show on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you are listening, and hit the subscribe button to make sure that you do not miss out on future episodes. The mission here is to help you elevate your real estate game. Now, one quick thing, we are for 100 episodes, we're going to be giving away 100 copies of 10,000 Miles to the American Dream. Jason, this copy will have your name in it shortly and will be on its way to Charlotte, to the Charlotte area. And all we're asking, if you'd like a copy of this book with your name in it, is to leave us a review on your preferred podcasting platform. Take a screenshot and email that to john@johncarneyonline.com, or you can take a screenshot and DM me on Facebook or Instagram and send me your mailing instructions, and this will find its way to you. So that's the post-game report. Those show notes and links to Vista Homes and where you can find Jason will be on our website, johncarneyonline.com/podcast. EP 103. And that's it, folks. Remember to stay focused on your goals, have fun, stay in the game. Until next week, I'm your host, John Carney. And remember to work hard, play hard, and raise the bar. And one more time, I had a great time getting to know you, Jason. And if you're ever up in Cleveland, Ohio, for whatever reason, make sure you sing out and let me know, and we can hook up for.
Will do. Thanks a lot for having me, John. I really appreciated it.
All right. Be safe, stay healthy, and keep up the good work down in Charlotte.
Thanks so much.
Yep. Have a great day.
You too.